I really need to stop making these so late at night. Let's see. Today, I want to talk about something I've been thinking about for a while. It's a few things and how they relate. Backbiting meets reward and punishment, and justice, kind of like all tangled together. And it's nice because I don't think I've encountered one of these quotes before. Some I encountered by myself, some I knew just from being around. But I had a devotional / deepening the other day in which we talked about one of them, and it helps and fits into this, so I'm gonna use it. Specifically, starting with backbiting, because I feel like that's where we start a lot. That seeker should also regard backbiting as a grievous error, and keep himself aloof from its dominion, inasmuch as backbiting quencheth the light of the heart and extinguisheth the life of the soul. And I believe Ruhi Book 1 mentions specifically, backbiting quencheth the light of the heart and extinguisheth the life of the soul. And so we talk about that one a lot. And I feel like growing up as a Baha'i, that one was very much stressed to me. Don't backbite, backbiting's bad, are you backbiting? And that one was very much overimposed. Overimposed? No. That was just very much at the forefront of growing up. Whereas the other two quotes, O people of God, that which traineth the world is justice, for it is upheld by two pillars, reward and punishment. These two pillars are the sources of life to the world. And then that quote goes on to talk about, I believe it's that quote, that quote goes on to talk about the universal house of justice. I think it's the quote where they're first mentioned, I'm not positive. And how it is their responsibility to dole out justice, essentially, I believe. Goes on to talk about the universal house of justice and equates reward and punishment as being, I believe, their responsibility. And then the final quote, which is from the devotional / deepening I was in, was, punishment is one of the essential necessities for the safety of communities. But he who is oppressed by a transgressor has not the right to take vengeance. On the contrary, he should forgive and pardon, for this is worthy of the world of man. And that part's difficult. And the devotional was specifically on the topic of forgiveness, which is why I came across this one. Why this one came into my realm, my sphere. Because I'm that epic. No, I'm weird. But I feel like, so we've put in so much growing up, so much pressure, so much focus was placed on not backbiting, but none was placed on reward and punishment. Like, there was, of course, your parents punishing you. I struggle to think of any rewards, personally, my own experience. And I definitely see more punishment in the world than I see reward. But the idea of, but we were taught so much not to backbite that if anything, and I'm not saying that we should start backbiting, of course, like backbiting is bad, gossiping is bad, talking bad about a person is bad, but if someone does something wrong, as a community, we need to be comfortable and okay with someone coming forward and saying something about it so that justice can be upheld. And that, I feel like, is where we've fallen short. Just a lot of focus on don't backbite, and so people have been allowed to be abusive, people have been abused, their abusers have been known to be abusive, and no one said anything for various reasons that we need not go into. And so I just feel like we need not to focus more so on punishment, but focus more so on justice. And because we've gotten down talking about and teaching about backbiting, but we haven't tried too much or at all to talk or teach about justice. We'll say that's right to, like, granted I don't have kids, but we'll say in the topic of kids, we'll say, is that right? Is that the right thing to do when they're making a decision? But we won't necessarily go after someone for justice. And this isn't to say what we talked about in the deepening with the final quote about punishment being essential for the safety of communities. One of the points that was made was it is the job of society to punish, while the job of the individual to forgive, which is very difficult. And there was a whole thing about why you should forgive. But the point, punishment should be doled out by the society, but too much, I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record, too much society has said, the Baha'i society has said, don't talk about something that someone should be punished for. And even if that's not what's meant, that's the intention that's given. So I feel like we need to change that. And there are some instances that I'm aware of in which I know of, I don't know, take myself out of this. There are some instances in which I'm aware of where someone has done something. It has, after a long time, it was brought to the attention of the assembly. The assembly took action, and I was very uninvolved and removed from the situation, but I don't feel like the punishment was severe enough. It's not my place to say that. I don't feel like justice was served, and again, it's not my place to say that. And so I struggle. I think we all struggle a lot with this one, but my point in this is that while backbiting is bad, we as a community should while still discouraging backbiting, encourage everyone, children, junior youth, adults, LSA members, seekers, friends of the faith, even people outside of the sphere of the Baha'i faith, to come forward. And as long as they're not slandering, that's the right word for exactly what I'm trying to say? I don't know, because I know slander works, but as long as they're not like disparaging, as long as they're not like walking all over someone's name for their own interest to make the other person seem bad for an unfounded reason. There we go. If it's something that's true, if it's something that puts people in danger, if it's something that it's coming through could be a learning opportunity for the community as a whole, I believe that we have a responsibility, because the best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. That was another quote. The best beloved of all things in my sight is justice, which I believe is from the Hidden Words. So the thing that God finds greatest is justice. He names the highest institution in the world, the universal house of justice. But we focus more, at least here in the US, we focus more on not backbiting to such a degree that we impede justice. So I think I'm gonna try and do better. This was never meant really for me to be speaking to people, or this is always more of like a project for myself. But if people are watching, this is me trying to encourage myself to be better. This is me calling on you to be better, and to make justice more so on the forefront, especially now with all that's going on. Whatever. Especially now with all that's going on, make justice a priority. And do so without backbiting, but definitely focus on the difference between backbiting and saying what is necessary so that justice can be served. Peace.